This podcast is powered by the pros at Paschal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPaschal.com.
Let's go to the man of the hour. So we welcome in Hunter Yurachek on the McCarty Daniel Hotline. Now, Hunter, it is a What's Your Beef Wednesday, so I want you to stow away a beef. You're going to have to take your athletics director hat off later on in the program and just tell us man-to-man what you're beefing with these last couple days. I know you've had a good week thus far, but we just got
sleeping on a bus, maybe.
Yeah, well, I bet he's flying. We'll see. But Hunter, Jimmy was just asking about basketball. I know you've gotten flooded with Cal questions these last 3 or 4 weeks, but he wants to know the most pressing issue for him is when the slobbering hog is going back on the court.
And will the slobbering hog be drinking a Coke or a Pepsi? So
it's very interesting. Slobbering hog is actually on the court 2 times now, adjacent to Coach Nolan Richardson's signature.
Yes.
I think most people overlook that. I don't know that it's going to go back at mid-court anytime soon, but it's on there twice.
Yeah, well, glad we could get the most pressing issue in your department out of the way.
Out of the way, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Hunter, again, you've been all over the state thus far. Heber Springs, Jonesboro, Forest City. You guys were in Little Rock last night. Next 4 stops will be Pine Bluff, El Dorado, Texarkana, and then Fort Smith tomorrow. Give our audience, because we got a lot of people listening in those areas, give our audience a sense of what you guys are going to be discussing in these next 4 stops here in the next 48 hours.
Well, it's a chance for us to get around the state and touch and feel our fans that maybe we don't get to see as often. Maybe they don't have a chance to get up to Fayetteville. And I give them kind of an update on what's going on in the athletic program. Our coaches that join us give us an update on their programs. We have a little Q&A session so they can ask questions of the pressing issues that are on their minds that they want answers to. And it's really just an opportunity just to meet our fans where they're at with myself, our coaches, our band, our spirit squad, our mascots, and just to say thank you for all the support we get across the state.
Hunter Yurachek, Arkansas Athletic Director, with us on the McClarty Daniel Hotline. What's the last 30 days been like since John Calipari's hiring, the sense of energy within your building? Just take us inside those walls and how it's maybe changed, maybe the pace of play, if you will, inside the athletic department.
Well, I'll tell you first and foremost, I saw Coach Cal last night, and that's one of the few times I've seen him since his press conference because he's been flying. He's been out first and foremost trying to put a team together. He's been putting his staff together. He's been worried about putting the schedule together for the 24-25 season, and so I think he's got a little bit of pep in his step and has been hitting it hard. And then obviously I think as we see across our state as we travel this week that Arkansans have their chest poked out a little bit, their head held high, and really a sense of pride that a Hall of Fame coach like John Calipari would come to the state of Arkansas and coach our men's basketball program.
As the athletics director, how do you get that sense of energy and excitement that has built up around basketball since his arrival? How do you have that spill over to the other sports, in particular football? Because I would assume you want a rising tide to lift all the boats.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is. I mean, you look at just what's happening in our spring sports right now. Our men's track team is ranked number 1. Our women's track team is ranked number 2. Our baseball team is ranked number 3. Our women's golf team is ranked 6. Our men's golf team is ranked 8th. Our softball team is ranked 12th. And that the excitement around those sports, I think, is the basketball spotlight is on them as well as helped kind of lift the spotlight on those sports. And then as you look at the football season, the addition of Coach Petrino on the offensive side of the ball has been a great compliment to Coach Pittman in that meeting room when he lost in Barry Odom for 1 year. He now has back where he's got a veteran coach that has been a head coach both in college and the professional level that he can bounce things off of. I think we've got a much better offensive line than we had the year before last. The quarterback, Coach Pittman and Coach Petrino, really high on him and fits the system that Coach wants to run. I think there's a lot of excitement about our football program. What a great home schedule we have with LSU, Tennessee, Texas, and Ole Miss coming to Fayetteville this year. And so I think you'll see that excitement for football ramp up when we get to the media days in July and then fall camp in August.
We're talking with Hunter Yurachek, Arkansas Athletics Director here on the Morning Rush via the McCarty Daniel Hotline. Hunter, you had some comments recently on The Athletic talking about scheduling. And I know next season it will still be 8 games in the SEC We'll see what happens starting in 2026. You've got several games out: Utah, Oklahoma State, Memphis, Notre Dame, some of the non-conference games in the coming years. How do you balance what potentially could be a 9-game SEC schedule, but at the same time scheduling marquee non-conference games that fans want to attend with your head coach that doesn't want a fire me schedule per se?
Sure. I mean, right now we have the 8 SEC games, and then we have a requirement within the SEC that you have to play another Power 4, Power 5 team. We've got that set up for the foreseeable future. You mentioned we've got Oklahoma State, a home and home with them that begins this year, and then next year we have a home and home with Notre Dame that begins, and then the following year we have a home and home with Utah. Then the following year, I believe we have a home and home with Texas Tech that begins, and so we've got our schedule set up really, really well, and I think some really good games for our program. Now, if we go to a 9th SEC game, Coach Pittman and I will sit down and evaluate what that schedule looks like moving forward, because we do have to have a schedule that allows our team to have an opportunity for success.
Now, Hunter, you're a guy that attends practices frequently, not just in football, but basketball and baseball occasionally. You kind of spoke to a few things that you maybe seen an improvement, the offensive line and new OC. Maybe if you could detail in specifics what you would say the biggest difference is from last year's team to maybe what you've seen in spring and should expect this fall.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you the biggest difference. Obviously, there's a difference in talent. You can see that. But what I'll tell you is just the thing that sticks out is the leadership that we have on both sides of the ball. I felt like we didn't have leadership last year, that when times got tough, that someone was going to get in your face, not a coach, but a player, because I think you have to have player-led leadership on your team. And we didn't have that during the 2023 season. I think you can already see that on both sides of the ball. Players that have the respect of the locker room and are able to make sure that no one is taking a day off, a snap off, whatever, and that the coaches are not having to enforce that. That is the players on the field that are enforcing that, and that is the biggest difference. And then there's just a sense of camaraderie around this team that we didn't have last year. NIL has changed the way things are in the locker room, and it's a delicate balance for coaches to navigate that. And I think Coach Pittman and his staff and who they recruited this year and how NIL has been used in our locker room this year has changed the dynamics in our locker room to a positive.
Hunter Yurachek just called us on the McClarty Daniel hotline. He's on the road with the One Razorback Road Show this week. We'll get back to that in a second because I know you got several other stops here in these last couple of days, and we want to highlight those. But obviously, with the hiring of John Calipari, we've seen some household names within our state that have gotten involved financially at a different level than they presumed to have been with the university. Has that been another rising tide, like I mentioned a moment ago, that's brought other people into the conversation? We know NIL's at the forefront of everything these days and how you run your department. Has that excitement brought other people to the table for football and just in general to the athletics department?
Yeah, sure. We have a great top-end donor base at the University of Arkansas, people that have been incredibly generous, families that have been incredibly generous to us. But if we're going to be successful year after year in the name, image, and likeness programs and compete in the SEC, we need very much a grassroots effort. We need people across the state, regardless of their means, whether they can give $25 a month, $50 a month, $100 a month. If we can get 10,000 people to be a member of our Arkansas Edge NIL Collective and give something consistent every month that we can plan for, that's how we're going to be successful. That's how other schools have been successful in this NIL game. We just can't, from person to person, look and say somebody else is going to take care of that for us, because we still have some facility needs, the renovation to Bud Walton Arena. We have to have an addition to our soccer stadium and our softball stadium so we can continue to compete in those sports. And we have donors that will help us with that, but they can't help us with that and also help us with NIL. So it's we have this one Razorback theme, only need everyone, ONE, and that means we only need everyone across the state. If they can contribute something to name, image, and likeness, we need them to go to the Arkansas Edge website and do so, and that's how we're going to be successful.
What's it look like to be successful in the SEC? I mean, I think that's where fans have a hard time wrapping their mind around it is how much does it take to be competitive anymore in the NIL world?
Guys, I'm going to tell you that it's a 7 to 8 figure number without putting a specific figure on it. That is what is being spent in NIL across your football, basketball, baseball, women's basketball programs right now in the SEC.
Hunter Yurachek with us, talking all things Arkansas athletics. Hunter, speaking of money, television revenue sharing sounds like it's coming down the pipe. I know one of your cohorts at Texas A&M is already prepared for that. I know you guys at the athletics department are probably preparing for that eventually to happen. What are some of the things that maybe you're doing right now to prepare for that process whenever it comes down the pipe?
I mean, we're just looking at all of our revenue streams, all our expense line items, and seeing where we can increase on the revenue side and maybe decrease on the expense side. You know, where are we spending, where we don't need to be spending? We investing our money in the right places and the right resources, both from a personnel standpoint and just other things that we're investing in. And then are the ways we can increase revenue outside of sponsorships, outside of TV, and outside of tickets that can help us, because we're very proud of that we have 19 sports programs, and we have 19 sports programs that are really, really successful right now, and we don't want that to change in the future. We want to make sure that all 19 of our sports programs, 465 student athletes, all have an opportunity for success moving forward. And so I think just like my colleagues around the country, we're just evaluating where we're spending our money and the resources that we're able to generate.
One of those successful programs is Arkansas softball, 4th straight regional for Courtney Deifel and company. Are you going to be at Bogle Park this weekend?
I will be at Bogle Park this weekend, absolutely. And I'm hoping to make it out to California for the Women's Golf National Championships as well. So I've got a busy weekend ahead, but I love watching our student athletes compete and have success.
Now, you had some of that strawberry shortcake there at the Bulldog. I've had that myself. It is pretty good. What are some of the other stops you've enjoyed along the bus tour so far?
Oh gosh, it's definitely an eating tour for sure. There's no doubt about it. Actually, I'm a big Zach Bryan fan, and when we got done last night, I walked over to Simmons Bank Arena and enjoyed an hour or two of the Zach Bryan concert, which was really, really cool for sure. But just so many great places around our state to stop and eat. The Legacy over in Forest City, we had a great lunch over there. Had a great lunch at the Red Apple Inn up in Heber Springs.
Yeah.
It's just amazing that people roll out the red carpet. You get fed very well on this Razorback Road Show for sure. That's why I'm getting ready to go jump on my Peloton bike before we head out this morning.
Well, you're going across southern Arkansas today, then you're making the trek from Texarkana to Fort Smith. I'm trying to think of a good spot, or around Mena or DeQueen or somewhere in there. Y'all could make a good road stop. I guess you could stop in Mena somewhere at Myers or somewhere like that. Yeah, if any of your listeners have some good ice cream spots between in any of these places we're going, that's what the Band and Spirit Squad, they like their afternoon ice cream, as do I. And so that's where we try to find a really nice local ice cream shop that we can get some ice cream, just like we did in Bald Head. It wasn't ice cream specifically, but the strawberry shortcake was amazing. Yeah, it is. Myers Drive-In in Mena would probably be
a good spot,
a good halfway point for you guys. All right, you're at Uncorked in Fort Smith tomorrow night. Who will be with you there as you wrap up the road show? I think Coach Neighbors will be our headliner, kind of coming in back down to his homeland. And I think we have one other coach, but I cannot tell you who that is right now.
Should be Colby Hale, if I remember that right.
Colby Hale. There you go. Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry, Coach Hale.
No worries. Hunter, last thing again, it's a What's Your Beef Wednesday. And again, we've talked a lot of positives at this point. I need you to just be an average Joe for a sec. I know there's something that's ticked you off lately. So what has maybe irritated you in the last week or so? Just an average thing. Like, for me, it's the fact that the SEC hasn't released the scheduling for the upcoming basketball season. I've got a pimple in my nose that I had to pop the other day.
I'm sure he's glad to know that.
Yeah. What is something just kind of common that has maybe irked you in the last 48 hours or so?
Well, I don't know if it's I don't know that it's common, but it's hurt me for about the last, I feel like 48 months. It's just that we have failed as a college athletics industry in telling the story of all the good things that we do for student athletes. I mean, we're being held to task to revenue share with their student athletes, and I would challenge the court system that we have been sharing revenue with their student athletes since college athletics started. I mean, we offer student athletes, if you get a full scholarship at the University of Arkansas, that's a $75,000 value. That includes your tuition, your room and board and housing. We spend about $3.5 million in our student athlete dining facility. You get to travel all over the country. You get great equipment. You get health care. You get mental health care. And the fact that courts and plaintiffs' attorneys feel like we're not sharing revenue with student athletes, it's our fault as an industry that we've done a very poor job of telling our story and our narrative of the incredibly good things that we provide to young men and women in this industry. I'm
with you, because I've always felt the same way, that the idea that the scholarship or the full cost of attendance or everything else you just listed is meaningless, and the only thing that matters is NIL, is such a, to me, an uneducated view, because when someone says that, that's someone that didn't pay their own student loans back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And work their way through college like many of us did.
All right, Hunter, we'll leave it there, man. We appreciate, again, you've been busy, so we appreciate you joining us this morning. We're excited to hear from Sam Pittman tomorrow, and not just talk about what's going on with the Road Show, but all things football. And 106 days out, man. I know you're ready for Thursday night in Little Rock.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Go Hogs.
BetOnline is your #1 source for all your betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use our promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online, where the game starts.